Russia has just confirmed that multiple countries have now ordered its most advanced stealth fighter, the Su-57. And while Moscow is not officially naming the buyers, the signals are loud and clear. Behind the scenes, countries like North Korea, India, and Iran are widely believed to be lining up for this fifth-generation aircraft. But this is not just another defense deal quietly signed behind closed doors. This is the kind of development that slowly shifts the balance of power without a single shot being fired. Because when advanced weapons like this start spreading across different regions, they don't just strengthen individual countries, they change the calculations of everyone watching. Air superiority has always been one of the most decisive factors in modern warfare, and fifth-generation fighters sit at the very top of that hierarchy. So, when Russia begins exporting the Su-57 at scale, it is not just entering the global arms market, it is reshaping it. And in a world already filled with tension, rivalries, and unresolved conflicts, this kind of shift has the potential to quietly redraw the lines of power in ways most people won't notice until it's too late. To understand why this matters, you need to understand what the Su-57 actually brings to the table. This is Russia's first true fifth-generation fighter, designed to compete with the most advanced jets in the world. It combines stealth capabilities, high-speed maneuverability, and long-range strike power. One of its biggest advantages is its ability to carry a wide range of long-distance missiles inside its internal weapons bays, which helps it stay stealthy while still being heavily armed. It also has a combat range that is reportedly more than double that of the American F-22, giving it a serious advantage in long-distance operations. Unlike many modern fighters that are still being tested in controlled environments, the Su-57 has already seen real combat conditions, especially in the Ukraine conflict. That matters, because combat testing reveals weaknesses, improves performance, and builds confidence for buyers. Russia has also accelerated production, opening new facilities and pushing for faster delivery timelines. This shows one thing clearly: Moscow is not just building this jet for itself anymore. It is preparing to export it as a key tool of influence, and possibly as a counter to Western dominance in advanced fighter markets. Now comes the most interesting part: who is actually buying it? The first confirmed foreign operator appears to be Algeria, which reportedly began operating the aircraft in 2025. But beyond Algeria, the list becomes more strategic and more politically sensitive. North Korea has shown clear interest. Its leadership even visited Russian facilities and inspected the Su-57 cockpit back in 2023. Given Russia's increasing reliance on North Korea during the Ukraine war, especially for ammunition and logistical support, there is a strong possibility that Pyongyang could leverage that relationship to gain access to advanced fighter technology. Then there is India. Talks between India and Russia have reached an advanced stage, with discussions not just about buying the aircraft, but even producing it locally under a license agreement. Reports suggest India could initially purchase around 40 jets to quickly boost its air force before moving into joint production. This is a major shift, especially considering India had earlier stepped away from a similar program. And then there is Iran. With growing military cooperation between Moscow and Tehran, including deals for Su-35 fighters and Mi-28 helicopters, the possibility of Iran acquiring the Su-57 is becoming more realistic. Each of these countries represents a different strategic front, and together they form a pattern that cannot be ignored. This pattern reveals something much bigger than just arms sales. Russia is building a network. By supplying advanced weapons like the Su-57, it is strengthening ties with countries that are either under Western pressure or actively looking for alternatives to Western defense systems. For countries like Iran and North Korea, access to such technology could significantly boost their military capabilities, especially in air defense and regional deterrence. For India, the situation is more complex. It is balancing relationships with both the West and Russia, and acquiring the Su-57 could give it an edge in regional competition, particularly against China and Pakistan. But at the same time, it raises questions about how this fits into India's broader defense strategy, especially with increasing cooperation with Western countries and participation in groups like the Quad. For Russia, however, the goal is clearer. These deals bring in revenue, reduce the impact of sanctions, and most importantly, expand its strategic footprint. Every Su-57 sold is not just a fighter jet. It is a long-term military relationship, one that can last decades through maintenance, upgrades, and training. The timing of these developments also makes them even more significant. The global security environment is becoming more tense, not less. Conflicts are ongoing, alliances are shifting, and countries are investing heavily in military modernization. In this environment, access to advanced air power becomes critical. Fifth-generation fighters are not just about fighting, they are about deterrence. They send a message. When a country operates stealth fighters, it changes how its rivals plan their strategies. It forces them to invest more, rethink their defenses, and prepare for new types of threats. This creates a chain reaction. If one country acquires advanced fighters, others feel the need to respond. And that is how regional arms races begin. Russia's decision to export the Su-57 is likely to trigger exactly this kind of reaction in multiple regions, from the Middle East to South Asia to East Asia. Countries that cannot access Western fighters due to political restrictions may now see Russia as a viable alternative. And that could slowly shift the global defense market away from Western dominance. In the end, what we are seeing is not just the sale of a fighter jet. It is the quiet spread of high-end military power across the world. Russia, despite facing sanctions and economic pressure, is finding ways to stay relevant on the global stage. By exporting the Su-57, it is not just competing with the United States and China. It is positioning itself as a key player in shaping the future of air warfare. For the countries buying these jets, the benefits are clear: more power, more capability, and more strategic options. But the risks are just as real. As more countries gain access to advanced military technology, the margin for error becomes smaller. Miscalculations become more dangerous. And conflicts, if they happen, become more intense and harder to control. The real question is not just who is buying the Su-57, but what happens next. Because once these aircraft are deployed, they do not just sit on runways. They become part of military planning, part of deterrence strategies, and part of future conflicts. And when multiple regions begin upgrading at the same time, the world doesn't just become more advanced, it becomes more unpredictable.